up ahead. Affirmative 612.
Time once again for another edition of the Pilot Money Guy with Scott Osborn and myself, Mark Killian, your host, as we talk about investing, finance, and retirement. And maybe you're a new hire, Scott, or maybe you're thinking about some planning moves as you come on board. Maybe you're changing airlines or whatever the case might be. So what's some of the things you want to highlight this week to talk about for our pilots out there?
Yeah, so for our folks that are new to, I'm going to say new to the majors. Okay, maybe
majors, okay.
Not new to flying, but hey, I got to Delta, American, United, Southwest, UPS, FedEx. I got to a major airline. I quote unquote made it. If that
you're not at Bob's Airline Scenic Tours anymore. Okay,
if that was your goal. I mean, and there's plenty of our guys that they get senior enough in a regional or corporate or whatever, and they got the work balance life and the income that meets their needs, and they're content with that. And that's fine, but I want to talk specifically to those folks that are kind of new to the majors. A lot of times there's so much new training that the guys are having to go on. They're having to go, get their type ratings and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of onboarding into the company and then benefits enrollment and just all those things. So that first 6 months can be just an absolute whirlwind. And so, to me, typically if I'm meeting with somebody who's brand new, we'll typically like, hey, just get yourself settled and let's reloop where we can kind of focus on the financial side of the job, but get through a lot of those initial hurdles of just I'm in a groove with work now first and get these other things right. And so the very first thing that I would say is like, do not procrastinate. Like once you've kind of gotten through that point where you feel like I'm in a groove with work, you want to immediately try to get into tackling some of these fundamental financial things. And the main reason is because, we've talked about in the past, when you're not doing some of those things right financially, you're like time is your enemy when it comes to compound interest. It's also your greatest ally. So the more we procrastinate, the greater the opportunity cost we have now cost ourselves. But the earlier we act on these items, the more that we get that compound interest as a tailwind to our financial plan. And so to me, I think, hey, if you've been in for 90 to 180 days, or a year, and you're like, I'm in my groove, obviously you still have a career roadmap where maybe you're looking to get to your ideal aircraft, your ideal base, you're going to upgrade eventually. But you look at this roadmap of things that I want to accomplish at my airline, it can be very easy and tempting to say, I'm going to deal with this other stuff when I get to the next bar. And that next bar can continually move. And the next thing you know, you're in your 50s or 60s and you're like, I really need to deal with this stuff. And you've missed out on literally a decade or decades of compound interest on your behalf. And so if you go find somebody in the left seat with some gray hair to them, they're probably going to tell you, get started on it early. The earlier, the better. Hey, it's the crown of splendor. I got plenty coming here too, man.
Yeah.
So, but that comes with some wisdom, right? And so,
yeah, for sure, absolutely.
So, for a lot of our folks that have, maybe worked their ways up through the military or worked their way up through the regional, when they get in the new airline, they've left behind something too: an old 401k, an old thrift savings plan, some other accounts, an account they did with their buddy when they were 20, and so. This is another, I'll say, kind of tipping point in somebody's career where it's a really good time to after you've gotten through your initial onboarding, it's a really good time to take a quick knee, do some consolidation and reorganization, and then set your long-term strategy. And so we want to get all of our accounts in one place. That's first and foremost. Get all your accounts in one place. So I know what I own, and it gets that much easier to manage. So get it all in one place, consolidate and reorganize. Next, we want to make sure that we have a good understanding of our contribution strategy. So for a younger pilot, they're probably going to have to put some contributions in to help hit that IRS max between them and their airline. So we want to see them probably putting their contributions in. I got an episode out there we should link in here talking about what to do if you're above or below the $400,000 of income. If you're a new pilot, you're going to be under 400 for a little bit. That's a great time to consider. And again, it's based on the household because you might have other income sources. Your spouse might have other income sources. So you want to look at it from the household lens. We might want to really lean into some Roth contributions with our portion of it. Some of the airlines let the airline contribution go to the Roth. It's a little bit more rare, but if your airline does that, that might be something that you want to take advantage of for a period of time. When we hit that $400,000 mark, we go into higher tax brackets. And that's another good time to say, hey, maybe we want to shift our strategy to be more pre-tax and we can just defer some of those taxes until we're in a lower tax bracket in retirement.
Makes sense.
But that contribution strategy is one aspect that we want to be very intentional on and make sure that we're doing what we can to kind of take advantage of what the IRS limits are for saving and making sure that we're doing it in the right bucket. Do we want it pre-tax? Do we want it Roth? And then outside of the 401k, we want to establish a list of our funding priorities. Again, if you're a new pilot and you're coming from the military, you're coming from the regional, you might have taken a pay cut, you might have gotten a pay raise, but you're playing the long game. So that some of this is going to be cash flow dependent, but you want to list out that funding priority list. That way, as my cash flow comes up, I can work my way down those funding priorities, right? And that's typically going to be my 401k contribution. And then once I am filling up and maxing out the 401k, I want to start working on a backdoor Roth strategy where between me and my spouse, I'm putting money into an IRA and converting it to Roth every year and kind of working through those income limits through the backdoor strategy that the IRS does let us do. It's a little funny, but they let us do it, so we do it. So we want to get that on the list. And then we want to work into a taxable brokerage account where we're funding $100, $500, $1,000, some folks up to $4,000 a month in this taxable brokerage account. Again, cash flow dependent. And so those are some things that you want to get that funding list prioritized so you know as my income goes up, as I upgrade aircraft, as I upgrade seats, and my cash goes up, I know exactly what I'm working on next. And more importantly, we know what the expected range of outcomes are, because again, we're never going to nail it because the market has a vote long term.
Very
but
true.
we know the expected range of outcomes and making sure that those are going to deliver the retirement that I expect it to deliver. And again, a lot of it is very quick, back of the napkin math. I mean, we should be able to do this in 30 minutes and crank it out. But it's foreign. It's not stuff I enjoy. I don't have a desire for it, or I don't have a passion for it, so I'll deal with it later. Well, later is 5 years later, then 10 years later, and then 15 years later, and we've procrastinated our way into a very mediocre situation at times. And when I say mediocre, it might feel good compared to where you've been, but it's mediocre to where you could have been had you engaged in the planning process sooner.
Yeah, no, well said. I mean, that's where a lot of us find ourselves when it comes to thinking about retirement, no matter what walk of life you're in for an occupation. You know, a lot of people, this just doesn't go down well, right? So it's like, I'll get to it. So excellent point there for sure.
Now, when we have that financial, I'll say funding priorities, for a lot of our folks newer to the majors, the other thing I'll kind of throw in there too, Mark, is we do want to have like your non-savings and investment priorities listed in there too. That include funding for a wedding for yourself if you're a younger pilot, funding for a second wedding, funding for a home, funding for kids' college. So those are other things that we need to put in there. And that might mean I'm not going to get to my taxable brokerage account contributions until I upgrade to captain. That's okay. But have a plan and then work the plan one thing at a time. And guess what? Life happens. So that plan's going to change. You know, I want to relocate, or my spouse wants to, now that we have kids, my spouse wants to relocate closer to her family. So I'm working on, getting to a new base or whatever the case is. And so as those things happen, we can just tweak the priorities, but at least we have a written set of priorities and we're working them one at a time. And so, to me, I think having a good understanding of what the roadmap of my cash flow looks like, which is pretty easy in the majors. You can kind of see, the pay tables are there. I can see what it looks like as captain. I can see what it looks like at different airlines. I can figure out if I want to get other stuff done, how much overtime I got to work. Our guys are masters at figuring out what their income is going to look like. But let's use that income to work these priorities. And managing debt and cash flow is going to be a major component of that. So we want to be intentional with our debt to income ratio, how much debt we're willing to take on. And, we don't want to get to a major and say, hey, I finally made it. And then we go buy a new truck and buy a new house and do all this stuff. And we upgrade our lifestyle. And then we stretch ourselves thin and we've set ourselves up for a financial stress when we really shouldn't. If we have a good plan and we stick to the plan, you can accomplish all those things, but you accomplish them intentionally. You accomplish them with some purpose and good timing where it makes sense from a cash flow standpoint. And you know that you're not cutting your future short.
Scott, I mean, I'm not a pilot, right? But I mean, I know that they often, I've talked with a lot of them as well. And it's like, you want to have the end in mind in whatever you're doing, right? Whenever you're setting up your flight plans or when you're setting up your checklist, whether you're doing small planes, big planes, whatever the case is, obviously military, same kind of thing, right? So you want to have that end strategy in mind, which we preach on pretty regularly here.
Yeah. So a concept we talk about in the military would be, what is the end state? Or in the business world, starting with the end in mind. And so, if I'm new to a major and I'm starting to really get the income roadmap that I'm excited about, we want to be able to start with the end in mind and say, okay, what does retirement potentially look like? If I'm 40 and I got 25 years left to work, I don't know exactly what retirement is going to look like. That's okay. We should be able to say, in theory, this is kind of what I want, just at a high level. This is what I think my lifestyle is going to look like. And you can start to reverse engineer the savings rate and the saving contribution strategy you want to different kinds of accounts to manifest that retirement for you.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely an element of starting with the end in mind. And the sooner we do that, the sooner we're going to get the right action items to go take care of right now. Right. And again, those things are going to change. And so when we have kids come in or grandkids come in or something happens to our spouse or myself or my kid, like life happens. But when we have a plan, we can respond with better data and make better decisions to achieve ideal planning outcomes. And so again, for our newer folks, I would say, kind of in summary, we want to get the contribution strategy nailed down right away. And we want to make sure that we have a good investment policy to go right along with it, to make sure that we're being very intentional with the cash that our airline and ourselves are plowing in there. We've worked really, really hard to get to this point. Let's make sure we take care and we're prudent investors of these investments that we're putting to work in these accounts. And then we just want to work our way down that list of priorities. And again, it's not that hard to write them out in a Google document. As your life changes, you go tweak that Google Doc and you just keep working your way down those funding priorities. Have a good investment management plan to get the best performance you think you can get. And then let time and compound interest over time take care of you. So far, over the last 150 years of data, it's never let us down. Maybe for short periods of time, but it hasn't let us down. And so with that belief, with that long-term vision, and with the right planning items now, we can make a significant difference in where we're going to land in retirement. And we want to do those things now, Mark, that when we're 65 and we're retiring, we're looking back and we're saying, I'm really glad I did that. Not I wish I would have done that.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes back to having a strategy at the end of the day and looking at the individual situations that every person finds themselves in. So as always, if you got questions, you need some help, and you certainly probably do, make sure you're reaching out to Scott. We appreciate your time always here on the Pilot Money Guy podcast, but you can find him online at pilotmoneyguy.com. That's pilotmoneyguy.com. Get yourself some time on the calendar, have a conversation about your specific situation, whether you're new to the majors, whether you're not, whether you've been flying in the majors for years, or whatever the case might be, but have a conversation about your unique situation and get started today with that complimentary chat with Scott. We'll have all those links down in the show descriptions below. Thank you for listening on audio form. If you're on Apple or Spotify, of course, right here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you catch new content when it comes out. And we will see you next time here on the podcast. Scott, thanks for breaking it down, brother.
All right. See you guys. Fly safe.
We'll talk to you next time right here on the Pilot Money Guy with Scott Osborn.
Hey everyone, real quick, if you haven't grabbed Scott's Financial Flight Control Toolkit yet, now is the time. This is packed with tons of helpful resources and tools like this, Scott's book, The Dichotomy of Wealth, which is a pilot's guide to maximizing wealth and cash flow in retirement. You also get access to some great guides like this one, Advice Matters, which breaks down 4 key ways a good financial advisor can help you boost your returns over time. And guides like this one on the pitfalls of emotions when it comes to investing, and this one on the HCM byline investment strategy, and more. So if you'd like your very own Financial Flight Control Toolkit, just click the link in today's show description, and Scott and the team will be happy to get one sent your way at absolutely no cost to you.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.